Welcome in, guys. Welcome in. I'm gonna send some invites. Do me a favor, tap the screen. Help me get more people in here. Share what you guys can do, and we're gonna go through this new album that I have acquired. That is, I mean, as incredible as the other. Thanks for the likes, guys. Please help get more people in here and we'll really get going. Hello, Night Wolf. Are you up to date on what's been going on with me over the last few days? Night Wolf, I'm not going to get started in depth for a minute. Go ahead and check out my most recent video. Maybe the video before it, too. Hello, Joshua. I just got on, guys. I just got on. I do have another album. It is smaller, but still significant. This was a personal item of Harold Oldrey Junior. If you are familiar with the information that I've been uncovering and documenting, Harold Oldrey Junior was my great-great-grandfather. Thank you, Sock Monkey. Really appreciate the gifters. There you can see his father. That is Harold Oldrey Sr. This belonged to his son, who, as I've said previously, had a very strong focus on vampires, more so than anybody else in the history of the Oldrey family. Thank you, Connor. I love having you guys here to kind of go along with me. What did I learn from this new album? Thank you, Official Carrie. If you recall, I've talked a lot about vampires, different types of vampires, strangeness about vampires, some limited knowledge of their history. Basically, it's just been blown open even further. I have more information now. I'm going to go ahead and start opening it. There are more types of vampires than I realized. There are defy classification, basically, that are unique amongst themselves. They don't really fit into any other sub-classification that you might try to give them. Tristan, I talk about werewolves a lot. I have photos in the Oldrey family bestiary of different types of werewolves. But tonight we're going to be talking about Harold Oldrey Jr.'s album of vampires. I cannot show the video cassette tape. I'm sorry to say to everybody. Now, the first thing spoken of in this album, the first image, is a place referred to as the Maryland Asylum. Hello, Ziggy. The Maryland Asylum was, apparently, I don't have a lot of direct information, but it seems to be that this was a place where captured vampires were studied, maybe not quite as brutally as St. George's Keep. This was also some decades later, going into the early 1900s. You're welcome, RN. Thank you for sharing the live. Guys, while you're here, do me a solid. While we're checking this out, go to my profile and vote for me for the Face of Horror competition. You can see I'm in third right now. I've been in first before. Help me get back there. You can vote once per day, but let's go ahead and continue. Now, something very interesting. I just posted a video about this, and apparently the name Maryland is associated with some kind of vampire find in England, in the UK, which is where Harold Oldrey Jr. was located. I don't have all the details on that yet, but it seems to be related. Now here's where it gets much more interesting. Now, many of the vampires that I'm going to show you here in this book, they look human. Just like most vampires look human. Some of them, however, do not. Now, this was apparently a man named Arnold Bell. He was what is considered a lord. Apparently, that is another classification of vampire. You can think of it as something like the dominant vampire for his area, for his region. I don't know how large his territory. Now I'm going to go through and give more information as we continue, but I do want to go and look at a few of them real quick, show you some different ones. There is another lord in here. Apparently her name was Susan Clark. Susan Clark. He notes that she was exceptionally brutal, very aggressively violent. That's kind of how she made a name for herself. Now I'm going to continue, like I said. This next one is kind of frightening. This is, and the name given is just, they called her the Shark Woman. The Shark Woman. Now this is what is called a rotter. Now this is pretty horrifying, but apparently sometimes when somebody is made into a vampire, they're essentially immortal, but their body will still decompose for a short amount of time or until they literally fall to pieces. Now, the Shark Woman was considered uncharacteristically intelligent for a rotter. They usually go pretty insane pretty quickly. Now, here we have, if you remember previously, I've talked about regals. Regals, this one is similar to the regal in the Oldrey family bestiary. These are, think the vampire Lestat. Young looking, attractive, social. They like to be out and hunt amongst the public, essentially. Hold on one sec. Apparently his name was Gregory Bishop. Yet none of these were your friend. Now here we have the first of what are called recluse. Now remember, the way that I categorize these, or the writings that I possess categorize them, come from the perspective of the hunters. They are described based on their behaviors. It doesn't want to focus. That's interesting. There we go. Not all recluses necessarily come from the same source, but they have the same behavior. Thank you, Ms. Estrella. No, there are no celebrities in here. I don't think any of these ones are still alive. If he was able to get a picture of them, they were probably his prisoner. Thank you, gifters. I missed a few people. I'm sorry, I was talking Ms. Estrella. Satan, always interesting to have you in here. But this would be called a recluse. Essentially, a vampire that lives alone in some old, dilapidated manor or castle, even crypts, away from human society, only interacting very occasionally to feed. This book is one that I've only just retrieved last night. It belonged to my great-great-grandfather, Harold Oldrey Junior, a celebrated vampire hunter. Thank you, Satan. Always interesting to thank that username. This was another recluse. You'll notice the recluses don't have the, they're not as traditionally attractive. Regals always look very beautiful or handsome or just clearly somebody that most people would want to talk to. The recluses, probably because they don't want to interact with human society, do not have this characteristic at all. It's almost certainly a psychological effect that manipulates the way that they look. It's very strange. Now this next one is pretty intense. I talked to you about rotters. Those are vampires that, while they are immortal, they do still decompose. This is essentially a fluke. This was a horrific entity that the hunters just called Wet Bones. His name is literally in here as Wet Bones. This thing was clever enough that even while feral, it managed to survive in the London underground and hunt and live for many years. Wet Bones, one of the most horrific things in here. Here is another regal. His name is just listed as Adrian. There is no surname. Adrian. Young, he's noted to be young, as in he was turned young. He was turned into a vampire younger than they normally do. He was interesting, apparently. Vampires are predators. They hunt people. Men, women, he would brutalize. He would go home with them and then just devour them. But he was apparently nice to children and stray animals. Orphans in the street and stray animals. According to the notes left about him, he would often take money or coins or things from the houses and give them out to people in the street. Will I make a copy of this book? Almost certainly. This one is listed as Old Quincy. Another recluse. This picture was taken actually in St. George's Keep. It does list that he was there, but he was one of the entities or beings that escaped when the dungeon fell. That is Old Quincy. Now again, I'm going to go through these again and talk more about them. Here's another one that is pretty terrifying and strange. Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Adrian. This is referred to as Mother Naan. N-O-N. That's what she was referred to as. Debbie. Oh, Debbie Deb. Thank you so much, Debbie. I love you. Debbie Deb is the best. I don't know if any of these are still out there, a little bit. This was a while after the dungeon fell. I don't know what happened to these ones. I assume if he was able to get pictures of them, they were probably prisoners of some kind, but I'm not sure. Now, Mother Naan is one of these other unique, very strange, very feared vampires. She doesn't seem to fit the mold of what would be called a regal or a recluse, or even a lord or some stranger one. What caused the dungeon to fall? A powerful demon hybrid. I'll talk about that a little later when I go into the other book. But I do feel residual energy attached to these photos. Now this next one is another very strange one. Very unique. Listed as Reggie the Bat. They don't understand why. They don't know why. He was an anomaly. When turned, he took on very strong features. You could say reminiscent of the primevals. This is what the original vampires looked like. And he's channeling that to a degree. Reggie the Bat. Now this was not normal. This was not a vampire type. This was an anomaly. Now this is a very interesting one. Just listed as the Old Man. It looks like he is in the process of becoming an elder. He's listed as an elder already, but he doesn't look quite as much like the others. Hold on. He's just listed as the old man. Yes, I do believe the character Orlok in the movie Nosferatu was based on a real elder. Thank you, Neil. Really appreciate the gifters. Debbie, I think that it's just something to do with, like I said, thank you so much, Debbie. Most vampires don't age or change, but some of them will become elders, and apparently some of them become stranger things as well. Here we have another regal, Tabitha Wilcott. Again, the regals always look beautiful or handsome in a haunting way that will just really grab anybody's attention. Regal are the vampires that are the closest to the classical sense of something like the vampire Lestat. They like to be out and about in public. They like to hunt amongst high society right under people's noses. Thank you, Tony. Now again, I am going to go through all of these again. I just got connected. I'm kind of just trying to go through and show off the different pictures. But I am going to show them again and go into more detail. Each one has a little description scribbled. I have some other details from some of the other writings that I can put together. Can they be out during the day? Most of them can. Yes, most of them can. Can vampires reproduce? Not in the traditional way. They can turn people, but they cannot have children. I don't actually believe that they can engage in the activities that would create children. I am not a child of the night, Larzy. I'm talking about, I get my information from the people that hunted them, amongst many other types of creatures. I have a whole page dedicated to this. I talk about it all the time. Everybody feel free to go ahead and check out my channels, check out my books. There's a lot to learn. Now here is the one that I find probably the most interesting. According to the writings about him, when this photo was taken, he just looked like a man. He didn't look like a monster. He didn't even look like some of these other ones that look creepy. He just looked like a normal, middle-aged man. But this is what the camera captured. This is how the photo came out. Tristan, you first need to learn how to use the proper plural version of words. It's werewolves, no apostrophe. So this to me is very interesting. Like I said, his name was Donald Burns, and he apparently was hiding much darker power than he lets on. Oh, I do think some of these are still around. Now here is what was described by the people at the time as the Berkeley Manor Demon. I believe this... Thank you, Debbie. Really appreciate the gifters. I believe this could be an elder or a haunter. Apparently it was spotted several times in a place called Berkeley Manor, and over centuries was reported, viewed by many different people. Thank you, the berry. It looks like an elder, but given the way it's described, it could be a haunter. And like I said, the people at the time thought it was a demon. It does look like he's holding something. This photo seems to have been captured by chance. Thank you, Tony-sama. It does not seem like this thing is trapped. Make you a believer? Go to my page. Check out my videos. Check out my books. I've got all kinds of stuff going into deep, deep detail with these things. Now, I'm going to go through this book again, but, you know, that's what it has. It has 15 vampire images and a location. Thank you, Debbie Lynn. Thank you, Tony. You can share the live, but I'm going to ask that you don't post these things up on your profile. Any Irish stuff? I've got all kinds of stuff. Hold on. I'm going to go through the book again, but I'm getting a lot of people asking for certain things. Maybe they haven't been here before. For those wanting to see demons, I've got some very gnarly demons. These photos were taken in the late 1800s. These ones here, I believe, the early 1900s. These are very old photos. You can talk about anything you want. I would prefer somebody not take all these pictures and put them in a slideshow or something. People have done that before, and I'd rather you direct people back to my pages. I do not have the Lesser Key of Solomon. Again, guys, please go ahead and vote for me. Face of Horror, links on my profile. You can vote once per day. Still in third place. Let's see if we can't bring me up to second during this live. Oh, you can tag me. If you're going to post about me, it's okay. Tag me. It's just, some people just take my videos and download them, take out the watermark, and don't credit me at all. It's pretty annoying. I appreciate you, Shannonus. Where did I acquire these? That's a complicated answer. I always say the easy answer is I've inherited a lot of different things from generations of my ancestors that hunted the supernatural for at least 5 generations. At first, they started working for the church in an order called the Sons of Man. That's where this dungeon was. It was run by this order. It was called St. George's Keep. My ancestors did eventually leave that order. That's why I have these things, because they kept a lot of things, and I have been basically putting some other elements of their collection back together with help from, we'll say, some of their associates. They left the order because of disagreements with the church, primarily about things going on in African missions and treatment of women accused of witchcraft. Bridget is an Irish witch who was one of the closest allies of my ancestors, of any of them, in their history. They were no enemy to benevolent witches. Is the order still around? I believe so. Almost all of these are from Europe, because that's where they were located for most of their time. There are organizations, there are groups. I think of them more like small cell networks of people that hunt. I actually retrieved this book just last night from, I believe, somebody like that. If you haven't seen it already, you can see the videos of me going to retrieve this. I had been in discussions with somebody for quite some time to get my hands on it. Actually, hold on one sec. Let me show you. The person that is helping me the most. It's actually kind of interesting given what I've been talking about. Now, this is going to sound crazy, but I've got a lot to back it up. I'm going to recommend you check out my profile. Okay. This is Alexandra. She is a vampire. This photo was taken sometime in the mid-late 1800s. She was turned over 100 years before that. She is the only benevolent vampire I have any record of. She hunts her own kind. She hunts other vampires. She's worked with multiple generations of my ancestors in that line of work, hunting vampires and other things. She is, I believe, essentially a regal, but she doesn't really act that way. She has this same kind of glamour effect that makes people see her as familiar and attractive. Oh, I've communicated with her, Led. I've communicated with her multiple times now. She's the one who got me these albums. She's the one who just recently had this delivered to me, essentially. I had to go out and meet somebody very, very much in the boonies, in the forest, essentially. And, yeah, she's been helping me for some time now. Again. This is very interesting because there are creatures that are similar in some ways, but very different. I want to point something out. Here we have a ghoul. Alexandra would be 300 something years old by now. Here we have a ghoul, and here we have a rotter vampire. Completely different types of creatures. This was a human turned into a vampire, but its body still decomposed. This was never human. This is some kind of inhuman creature that mimics the form of the dead to live amongst and feed on them. These ones were in a dungeon. These ones, some of them you can see bars, you can see other things. It does seem like many of these photos were taken of them in captivity, but not all of them. Vampires are vain. Some of them look like almost like glamour shots. Like this one of this man, Gregory, he was a regal. This does not look like it's being taken in captivity. Who imprisoned them? That would be the Sons of Man. This was an order within the Catholic Church with a tremendous amount of manpower. Soldiers, hunters, priests, what they call high exorcists, which are essentially Catholic warlocks. Even blessed warriors referred to as paladin knights, something that goes back to the Holy Roman Empire. So they come from other dimensions. I never said that. Vampires seem to have different weaknesses, but something that seems universal is true faith of almost any kind, it seems. It's not specific to Catholic or Abrahamic. My ancestors were Catholic, but true faith and true objects of prayer, as in things that were actually used for prayer, not just like two sticks stuck together to make a cross, can repel these things. Thank you, John Edwards. Where do they originate from? There are theories. It's kind of a half answer. Let me show you. I can go down kind of a rabbit hole now that I have more images. I'm going to show you Reggie the Bat. Reggie the Bat was a vampire that was turned by another regular vampire of some type. Not anything special, not some demonic or extra creature. Just for some strange fluke, the curse did this to him. It changed him into this. Now, this looks strikingly similar in a lot of ways to another type of creature called a primeval or a primeval vampire, believed to be the original form of vampirism. When this photo was taken, this was the very last one on Earth. Thank you, Victoria. Or was believed to be the last living specimen on Earth. These are much more monstrous creatures that seem to predate human civilization. Now you can see Reggie the Bat has some similarities. He's not exactly the same, but it was written... Thank you, Tlapli. I'm not sure how to say your name. It was written that humans turned by primevals didn't look exactly like them. They were smaller, less monstrous. And that was believed to be because... Thank you, Mind Deaf. Thank you, Tlapli. It was believed that these came from ogres rather than humans. Ogres are another creature I talk about in here. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Tlapli. Ogres are some kind of proto-human monsters, something like Neanderthals, but larger. One of the many things I have in here that I believe are just some kind of animal. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Talapoli. Really appreciate all the gifters. I've got many things. Tonight's going to focus a little bit on vampires because I've just come into the possession of this very interesting album of vampires. The man that I have the most information from, Harold Oldrey Junior, he dealt with vampires, but it was never a real focus. His son, however, was essentially obsessed. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Victoria. Really, really appreciate the gifters. I do, Vinny. I do. I just got this yesterday. Any plans are very fresh. This lady is a very strange, unique vampire, referred to as Mother Naan. Thank you, Victoria. I don't know what that means. I know that she is considered unique, which means she doesn't fit into any subclassification. According to the writings, the notes here, thank you, Gina, appreciate you. She was the vampire that Harold Oldrey Jr. found the most frightening. It says she feeds in multiple ways. They all drink blood, but she apparently would feed in other ways as well. Thank you, Lady Boopin. But I find her, she really gives me the creeps. She's pretty terrifying. It's hard to say. She's just weird, inhuman seeming, unique. I need to do some more research and ask some more questions. I do have contacts that I can get answers from. Mother Naan. N-O-N. It's very... I don't know. It's strange. Now the other very unique ones in here. Wet Bones. This one to me is just nightmare fuel. They just called it Wet Bones. Apparently, like I said, you can think of it as a defect in the transition, but sometimes when somebody is made into a vampire, they will still decompose. And this can be for a few days, a few weeks, or until they literally fall to pieces. It's just sometimes it doesn't work right. And this one, they kind of lose their minds. You can imagine their brains are rotting. It must be a horrific experience. No, this doesn't have anything to do with whether or not they're fed. This doesn't have anything to do with whether or not they're fed. These things eat. There are certainly vampires that walk in the light. I've got some beautiful vampires in here. I've got some elegant, I don't know if I'd call him beautiful, but Arnold Bell, a lord, would certainly cross paths with humans. Susan Clark is a lord as well. She was probably a regal before she was a lord. She does seem to have that kind of beauty, that kind of glamour element still there. I don't think that's accurate, Brittany. Most of them transition correctly. The rotter is a very rare exception. Here is another one, though, but this is one that managed to keep her mind more than most. Thank you, Kevin. She did luckily eventually cease to rot, but she was known as the Shark Woman. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I can see why. I can get why people look at that and see a shark. All is well. I will be posting about this on YouTube probably today or tomorrow. I don't have anything about reptilians. I don't really believe in that stuff. Now here we have one of the regals. Again, regals always seem to be, thank you, nice to nice, at least what you would call traditionally attractive. They have the ability to use what is some would call glamour to basically call people's attention. Some of them, yeah, some of them just look very human. Many of the ones in here I have look human. Let me see. Here's another regal. Adrian. This one to me, he sounds kind of, I don't know. Apparently he was nice to kids and animals in the streets. But not to people. Not to adults. Not to men or women. This is a new album I've gotten my hands on, and I'm showing some of the different vampires in here, starting with the regals. Here's another regal, Tabitha Wilcott. Afterlife, don't say ourselves, you're not a vampire. Vampires are not on TikTok telling people they're vampires in chat, in random chats. It is well kept. I mean, you can imagine why. I always get kind of secondhand embarrassment for people who don't realize that old stuff can be taken care of. Again, this is an interesting case, considered unique, but at the time believed to be a regal. This one looked just like a regular, somewhat middle-aged man, apparently. But after the picture was developed, this is what came out. When they took the picture, it just looked like a regular person. You can kind of see a little bit of the facial features in there, but it's really messed up. Something's up with him. Those are one of the unique examples. Another unique example. Reggie the Bat. I just showed that one a second ago, but I'm going to show it again. Reggie the Bat. This was a vampire that again, you can almost consider it a fluke. Sometimes things work out strangely. This seems to be related to the primeval origins of the vampires, but this is how this one turned out. Reggie the Bat. Yeah, I'm going to show you some other ones that are just weird. There are some that do not fit regular distinction. Do you mean Vorador from Legacy of Kain? There was no Morador, but I can see that. Ace on your case, Talapo, thank you guys. And of course I was already showing Mother Naan, one of the more frightening ones here in the book, another very unique, very terrifying looking entity. It's a vampire, but it's very different. I don't have anything about dragons. The dungeon that held a lot of the creatures for a time was named after a supposed dragon slayer. Real vampires have a bunch of different ways they can look, Christina. I'm showing several. This one is very unique. Most of them would not look like that. Here you have something a little bit more common. This is what's called a recluse. I don't think so, Laura. I don't think you're in danger. Hold on, I'm trying to get it to focus. This is who is referred to as Old Quincy. Recluses are vampires that tend to live outside of human society. Think in an old mansion, in an old castle, in some ruins, in a crypt, coming into human society just to feed. Whereas regals love interacting with human society. Now, Old Quincy was apparently a prisoner in St. George's Keep. That's where this photo was taken. But he did escape when the the Cambion, the Nephilim tore the dungeon down, essentially. Now I have a couple other recluses in here. Oh, let me see. I do have a couple. Oh, here we go. Eliza Bears. She was a recluse as well. I mentioned that with the recluses, you don't see that over-beautification effect, where the regals look strikingly attractive. The recluses, while they don't look ugly necessarily, there doesn't seem to be that overly psychological element of attraction. Hold on. Where did I get this stuff? That answer is a little complicated. It's all on my profile. You can see it. I share everything. Thank you so much, Debbie. I really appreciate you doing that. Everybody, anybody who's willing, please go and vote for me. You can see the link on my profile. It's Face of Horror contest. I am currently third. I was first for a while. I'd love to get back in second. So help me out, guys. Is it a mugshot? I don't know if they did mugshots back then. Some of these photos seem to have come from when these things were captive. Other ones seem like photos they may have had taken themselves. I don't know. Here's another recluse. This one seems much older. Yeah, if you want to follow my story on YouTube as well, it's a little bit easier to follow. Some of this newer stuff isn't there yet, but I'll be getting it up there soon. I don't know. The Van Helsings are not were not a real. That was something. They could be based on real people, but it was just one guy in the book, and it was just a character Bram Stoker made up. Oh, Debbie Deb, thank you so much. You rule. Debbie Deb is the best. Everybody tell Debbie Deb she's the best. If you want to know where this stuff came from, Vermillion, like I said, it's a little complicated. I have all the videos on my page going into my process of obtaining these. I show everything. That's what smoking pills? I didn't know you could smoke pills. Someone said that's what smoking pills does to you. Now the Lords. This is something I need to learn more about. Again, as I told you, the way that these are grouped is a little bit strange. It's from the hunter perspective. So the groupings only have to do with how they interact with the world. Now these that are called Lords seem to be in some kind of dominant position over other vampires in their domain. It seems like some kind of supernatural psychological hierarchy. Thank you, John Edwards. Really appreciate the gifters. So it's almost like you think of colony animals. Usually they'll have a dominant male or female. It seems to work similarly to that. This one is named Susan Clark, apparently, and Arnold Bell. Both of these are listed as lords, meaning that they had positions of authority. Hello, Paranormal FPV. They had positions of authority over others. Thank you, Open Your Mind. Really appreciate the gifters. Do they have covens? I don't know if that's the right word. Thank you, The Berry. Thank you, Cindy. It does seem to be the case that they would be in small groups sometimes. Thank you, BNKY. Thank you, Cindy. But again, thank you, Basement. Again, they were never in such numbers that they could have very large groups. Yeah, these were probably regals. These lords were honestly probably regals. So seeing them as looking familiar is par of the course. Regals look familiar to people. They tend to look like celebrities or people that they know, and they look attractive. Basically, you think of them as somebody you already find attractive and powerful. Bino, I have all kinds of information. I've been going into this for almost 3 years now. I know some people don't understand that it's possible to learn things, but it is. I don't have anything about the Illuminati, and I don't do black magic. This book was put together by my great-great-grandfather, who was a hunter who specialized in vampires. This other one was put together by his own father, Harold Oldrey Junior, and contains much more than just vampires. I'm going to go over there for a sec. This thing gives me a little bit of trouble sometimes. I was told to close it when I'm not looking at it, but sometimes it doesn't seem to want to close. About the Fae, yes, I have a Fae entity right here, or an elf entity, if you will. Essentially the same thing. Might be called a Bogart or a house spirit, hobgoblin, brownie. People tell me they see the eyes move, but this is a type of Fae entity, a type of creature today some people might call a duende. Yes, I will be publishing this one as well, along with some more information about vampires. Yeah, Deb, you're not alone in seeing those eyes move. A lot of people are saying they move. Not all of them are bad. No, this one was. This one was being a very bad little creature. Now, if you like this kind of stuff and you want to check out your own version of this album, you can get right now, the Oldrey Family Bestiary. It is available in my link tree. I will be putting something like this together for this new album, but you gotta bear with me. I literally just got my hands on it yesterday. Now I'm going to show you another photo that people say they see movement. In the summoned demon photo. This is a demon summoned into physical form. Demons are not naturally physical creatures. They're spiritual entities. Thank you, Jesse. Now, you can see a lot of people have told me that the hands and the face move. Now here you can also see the binding sigils painted on the wall behind it that were used to hold it in place. That's how they would keep this thing from breaking free. Guys, do me a favor. Let's get some more likes in here. Let's get some more people in here. Tap the screen. Let's get this going. I really want to get to second. Help me get there. Get more people in here. Again, vote. Face of Horror. Links on my profile. Yeah, a lot of the creatures in here had binding sigils. This is the only photo where you can see it very well. Now it's interesting because the origin of vampires, when I talk about primevals, it doesn't really give a full answer. Where do these things come from? It's believed that they were some type of ogre-like creature that became possessed or cursed in some way and just turned into these monsters. And then later, human sorcerers or warlocks manipulated that power to become... It's actually not primevals, 2 words, it's 1 word. Primeval. It means very old, essentially. But, modern human vampires are the result of human occultists meddling with this. And that was the reason believed that Reggie the Bat looked like this. This was some kind of, I don't know, recessive something. I don't know if gene is the right word. Now again, I tried to look up this building and it brought up a couple of similar looking ones in different places. It was apparently called Maryland Asylum. I don't believe that's accurate, Mystic Warrior. I know that that is in the Vampire Hunter, or Vampire the Masquerade tabletop RPG, but I don't know if that's accurate. I am not on something, Jeremy. You can check out my page to get all the information and see how Mr. Nobody, I don't hunt creatures. I've never claimed to be a hunter. All vampires were humans at one time. I don't know the origin of werewolves. I do not know the origin of werewolves. I have not seen a giant bat hanging upside down. The asylum, I believe, would be somewhere in the UK. You become a vampire by being turned by a vampire. Now, Arnold Bell apparently... Oh, hold on. Thank you, Open Mind. Arnold Bell apparently at the time of the late 1800s, early 1900s, thank you, Estrella, was apparently essentially the dominant vampire in the United Kingdom, at least in England. It's written here as Britain. Britain, he ruled much of Britain's vampires. Now, I don't know how directly he ruled, but he was essentially the boss. If you disagreed with him, you were wrong. People do still hunt vampires, yes. Kinda Abe Lincoln-ish, I can see it a little bit. I think that giants did exist at some point. I don't know if they still do. Your last name is Bell? Are there vampires in NOLA? I'm not sure. Thank you, Open Mind. Really appreciate the gifters. Now here we have another lord, Susan Clark. It was Harold Oldrey Junior wrote, the rare female lord. She has asserted herself through brutality. Thank you, Diana. Hold on. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, yeah, I still haven't looked through all this. It says she could only gain sustenance from the blood of women she finds more beautiful than herself. That's interesting. Okay, so she could only drink blood from women that she thought were more attractive than herself. That's very interesting. I do know that some of these do have kind of stipulations on it. Yeah, Estrella, after I'm on here, go ahead and check out my newest videos. You'll see where this came from. Sunlight does not affect most vampires. Silver, they do not like silver, and a cross will work if it's an actual cross used for prayer, wielded by somebody who believes in it. Hold on. Now, the shark woman, a rotter. As I mentioned before, rotters are vampires that decompose, sometimes for a short period, sometimes slowly, sometimes until they literally fall to pieces. He wrote, the lucky rotter that stops festering before falling apart entirely. Non-feral, clever, and respected by others, she is a great anomaly. So apparently this one was intelligent. She looked like this, but she was intelligent. Someone looked like this? Jesus. I'm not sure how you would become a monster hunter. The last person in my family involved in this was my great-grandfather. Now, that name just really, like, the shark woman, it's just crazy to me. This is not a ghoul, this is a vampire. This is a type of vampire that, for some reason, rotted for a time when it was changed. Now, Gregory Bishop, a regal, like I said, regals are the ones that tend to be very handsome or beautiful. People also tend to see them as looking very familiar, either like people they know or famous people. Now, what he wrote about Gregory Bishop, he said, ambitious beyond his time, Gregory moves in high society as if they were naught but his cattle. If left unchecked, he will likely ascend to lordship. Thank you, Enterprise. Someone just said Tom Cruise. Yeah, people see them as looking like people they consider powerful and attractive. MJ, it could be. I know that some vamps have certain stipulations on how they can feed. Someone said Cillian Murphy. I actually kind of see Dennis Reynolds from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I live in Central Florida. Thank you, Schmido. Okay, now this is an interesting recluse. He's listed as Sir Remington. Sir Remington would be a lord if he cared to be. Thank you, Debbie. You always rule. He has lived nearly 1,000 years in shadow and solitude. Even still, his reach and stock grows by the year. Thank you, Debbie Deb. This is an incredibly old vampire, apparently, who just chooses to live as a recluse. Interesting. Very interesting. Debbie Deb, you're the best. Vampires do show up in photos. The reflection thing comes from silver mirrors, but they still show up in most mirrors and photos. Someone's saying they're seeing movement in his eyes. Could be. Thank you, Stephanie. Really appreciate the gifters. Thank you, Don Della. Now, this is another very interesting one. Some of the recluses seem to be, maybe they're not as into being vampires as the regals. The regals seem to revel in it. Thank you, Don Della. Because this says about Eliza, she is sickened by what she has become, but is a vampire nonetheless. She hides away from modern society, but requires a higher stock of victims per year. Yeah, so apparently she did not want to be a vampire, but she was one. Thank you, Melanie. It's a little bit of a long story where I got these photos. Check out my last few videos. I literally show you the whole thing, how I got it. Somebody said she's cute as F. Okay, that's cool. I don't think she's unattractive. Not regal status, though, if I'm being honest. Okay, now here we go again with one of the nastiest ones. Just called Wet Bones. That's what the hunters or the people around called it, apparently. Wet Bones. A rotter. Among the most horrific vampires of my career, is what he wrote. An advanced rotter lacking any deeper human mind, but instinctual survival enough to move in England's lowest underbelly. Again, rotters are vampires that they're just kind of flawed, so they still decompose. Even though they are immortal, they are vampires, their bodies rot away. I don't know if they have a climate preference. At this point, it is behind bars. Yes, it was eventually captured. Yeah, this is super creepy. The Bearded Leprechaun, you are a fool. I literally just got these yesterday. These are completely brand new. I have never shown these before. People are so weird. I can understand complaints, but saying while I'm literally showing new stuff. Yeah, I Google image searched all of these. None of them came up. I have not been to Casadega, but I will eventually go there. No, none of these have been posted before. I literally just got them yesterday. I posted all kinds of videos about it. You're just a dum-dum. I don't know if they used the same camera. I don't think they look like they were taken from the same camera. But the other ones in the other album were. Here is another regal. Man, the chat's going wild. I don't believe Vlad the Impaler was a vampire. This is Adrian. Again, this is a very interesting one. He's a regal. He liked to be out and about with people. He liked to go home with people and engage with them and then tear them to pieces. But he was kind to children in the street and stray animals. It was said that he would bring them food and valuables out of the houses that he had just slaughtered. I will ring the bells. That's good. I haven't been talking about the demon artifacts, so it hasn't been as necessary. But it's always a good idea. I don't know if he was killed. He does look like he is imprisoned here. He looks decidedly unworried. I don't know if vampires are in the Bible. These are not drawings. Thank you, Lee Lopez. If you think you found the location of St. George's Keep by Googling it and finding a hotel, you are incorrect. Thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate everybody who checks out the books. I do believe there are vampires in Romania. These ones were mostly the UK, it seems. Again, guys, if you want to check out some of stuff like this, I've got another book of pictures available you can purchase now. This one is not. I literally just got my hands on this yesterday, so give me some time. You can also check out The Old Breed Haxon, a novel about one of my ancestors, one of their more interesting stories. Thank you, Stephanie. Vampires cannot mate and have kids by normal means. Apparently, by some magical intervention, there has been cases like that. Hold on. I do want to say again, everybody, thank you, it's me. People, please vote for me daily if you can. Face of Horror, the link is on my profile. I would love to get back into first place. I'm in third right now. I was in first. This could, if you want me to visit the ruins of St. George's Keep, this is the way to make me able to do it. I don't have a list of all vampire names or anything like that, Mihail. I don't know any names of ones from Romania. The bell, it's complicated. I have two bells. One of them notifies me if there's any entities around, kind of focusing on me. Another one is to kind of dampen the energies of a dark, cursed object. I don't watch Twilight. What bloodlines are the photo albums from? I don't know exactly. I just know how they're classified by the hunters. Again, this would be a recluse. This is Old Quincy. It said, one of the escapees of St. George's Keep. He has come to rule the subterranean realms of outer London. He bears a stronger than normal aptitude for inciting madness in victims. So apparently this guy was good at driving people insane. Weapons for vampires, things like their monsters, it's different for each one. For vampires, really what you're going to need is some kind of faith-based magic, whether that is a crucifix that's actually been prayed into, wielded by somebody who believes in it, or some kind of witchcraft, religious witchcraft, like the actual Celtic druidism or something like that you have full faith in. I have all kinds of reports of things like that working to dispel vampires and demons. St. George's Keep was a dungeon where supernatural creatures were held for something like 100 years. It did eventually fall. It had a lot more than just vampires. These photos are older than the newer ones that I've received. These are from the late 1800s. It was run by a secret order called the Sons of Man. That is the order that got my ancestors involved in this kind of work. Are some vampires in the photo still around? I'm not sure. I don't think most vampires would like to be decapitated, but it takes more than just that to put them down. It's pretty intense ritual burial. They'll come back. You can damage them greatly, but they'll come back. Now we're back here again. I've come through a couple times to Mother Naan. Another one that is described as unique, meaning that it doesn't fit well into the other classifications that they have for vampires. She is just a very weird, very terrifying anomaly. Mother Naan. Thank you, Stephanie. Really appreciate the gifters. If I have paranormal, maybe. I don't really think so, but who knows? Now this is the one that Harold Oldrey Junior wrote he considered to be the most terrifying. The Hunter family is the Oldrey family. There are several of them. Harold Junior, Leopold, Reinhold, there's a bunch of them. I don't know about King James put him on trial, I'm not sure. I do believe it is safe for you to watch this live. Now another interesting thing that Harold Oldrey Junior wrote about Mother Naan was that she fed in multiple ways. She did not only drink blood. She fed in other ways as well. I did just get this book. There are still hunters today, yes. Several of them that are much older do need less blood. Those are called elders. I now have 2, possibly 3 photos of such types of vampires. Now here's another very strange one, Reggie the Bat. A very unique anomaly that for some reason when this person was turned, thank you Green Eyes, they shifted into this much more monstrous type of creature. Vampires spiked in the late 1800s. Vampires became much more prevalent, and they were kind of pushed back down. Thank you, Dondola. Thank you, Bagel Bites. Thank you, Pete Rock. Vampires were a pretty nasty problem in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Now here we have an elder that doesn't look quite as dramatically monstrous as some other elders. Again, this is what was referred to as the old man. Don't worry, Luna. I'm going to be posting this whole live up on YouTube once this is done. Where I have werewolves as well. I've been showing the werewolves. I have multiple different types of werewolves in here. Now again, like I said, elders is an interesting metamorphosis. Some vampires, if they live to be old enough, will undergo a metamorphosis into something much more supernatural, much more overtly supernatural. You can see examples here and a more dramatic one here. Excuse me. I do believe that Albin Grau, the man who designed Count Orlok in the movie Nosferatu, had seen one of these, because as you can see, they have very similar features to the character Orlok. And they always give me a lot more trouble to zoom in on. Salem's Lot was inspired by Nosferatu. That's why I say I think the man who designed Orlok and Nosferatu had seen something. Everybody else was just copying him, really. I don't think demons can cross with vampires, but I do believe that the origin of vampires probably has something to do with demons. I've said primevals are almost certainly some kind of possession or demonic curse placed on a tribe of ogres. But it gets more complicated after that. Now, Tabitha Wilcott, she is a regal. She's probably, I mean, her and Alexandra are pretty neck and neck. They're both gorgeous. They're both beautiful. But that's how these work. Regals, people see them as beautiful. I'm already starting to kind of see different celebrity faces when I look at her. I'm kind of getting, celebrities, maybe too strong a word, but I see a little bit of Alison Brie from Community. I don't know. Maybe somebody else. Who are you seeing? What's that girl? There's other ones. I can't remember their names. She looks like a girl version of Timothy Chalamet. Someone said Kat Dennings. Caylord Reptiles, thank you for subscribing. Billie Eilish. Yeah, people see different faces. People see different faces when they look at regals. They see them as looking similar to somebody they already consider attractive and powerful. I know a little bit about skinwalkers, but mostly just that most people confuse them for something else. Skinwalkers are just evil medicine men that can shapeshift, but a lot of people are seeing changelings and calling them skinwalkers. Changelings are these inhuman, pale, disgusting creatures that look like they're trying to pass for human but don't really. That's a changeling. You say you see them as they are, but how do you know what that is? People seem to see different faces when they look at them. Who knows what the true face is? Yeah, well, changelings, you can find videos of people taking things like this from just a couple weeks ago. You don't though. What? As I'm saying, you don't know. You don't know what you're seeing. You don't know. How would you know? Someone said Elizabeth from Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't think they look sad and scared. I think that's you projecting onto them because you want to think of them as innocent victims. I really am not getting sad and scared for most of them. Some of them seem annoyed. A lot of them don't even seem to be captured. This one here, Adrian, is captured, but he looks like he's just chilling. Where did I get this book? Through a very powerful contact. This was something that belonged to my great-great-grandfather. Now again, this is to me one of the more frightening in a way. What Harold Junior wrote was that when this photo was taken, it was a vampire, but that looked just like a man. He didn't look like a monster. He didn't look like this. He was just an older, gentlemanly looking vampire. And this is how the photo came out. I do not hunt. This was, to me, this tells me he was much darker of a creature than they realized. This does seem almost more demonic. And again, another elder, possibly a haunter. An entity, no idea what its name was as a human. It's just referred to as the Berkeley Manor Demon. People believe that it was a demon. I don't think I'm making myself a target. I feel very protected here. I think I've got more protection here than just about anybody. I don't want to say the world, but probably the state, the country. It does affect me to a degree. But there's no hiding from it, really. I am who I am. I descend from who I descend from. Now, this is something, if you know, I want to ask about again. This building pictured here is listed as Let me make sure I say it right. The Maryland Asylum. Now, people have told me that there was apparently some kind of finding of a Dr. Maryland studying vampires and things like that in the UK. I don't know. But this is the Maryland Asylum. Seems to be a place where vampires were studied. Probably in the early 1900s. I descend from the Oldrey family. They were hunters for about 5 generations. My great-grandfather, my mother's mother's father, was the last one involved. Maybe you do have a background being born into. It's listed as the Maryland Asylum. Thank you, DB. How do I know it's real? I'm just going to say, check out my profile. I've got hundreds of videos on TikTok. You can see on YouTube. It's a little bit easier to follow, more concise. I go into detail about how I found all of this. I didn't know about this for the longest time. I found out about this about 3 years ago. I've been learning more and more ever since. It was pretty crazy. In the meantime, guys, please go ahead again. I keep reminding you, but vote for me. Face of Horror. Link is in my profile. You can vote once per day. If you want to donate some money to cancer research and cancer relief, you can do some more votes. I would really appreciate it. You guys would be helping me out more than you can imagine. There are hunters, Shanti, because some people just want to protect their families. The first day that there were monsters hunting people, there were people that cared about people protecting them. I don't like the term hunter as much as guardians, protectors. Could be something like that, Brandon. Why don't I hunt? Because I wasn't born into it. I wasn't raised with it. I didn't learn about it. I didn't know anything about any of this until very recently. I thought the Van Helsing movie sucked, but I wanted to like it. But I thought it was pretty bad. Do I want to hunt? I mean, there's a part of me, I'm a man, I would love to go out and kill monsters, but I'd probably just lose my own life. I'm not trained for it. It's not something that I think anybody can just pick up and start doing. I am trying to help people in some ways, but in the ways that I can. This is an interesting one. This is a type of fae or elf creature. Again, thousands of people have told me that they see the eyes move. Don't worry about my life. That's some bad advice. Thank you, Fabian. I really appreciate everybody who votes for me. I believe in skinwalkers and Bigfoot to a degree. I believe skinwalkers are what the indigenous people claim. Essentially, evil medicine men, evil magic users that can shapeshift. If Bigfoot does exist, it's probably something like an ogre. Some kind of proto-human, something like a Neanderthal, but much larger. Yeah, thousands of people have said that they see these eyes move. You are certainly not alone. I don't really know about Wendigos. I don't really know anything about Wendigos. Okay, guys, I think that's gonna do it for right now. I might be back on later. I might do a Q&A. I'm gonna take a little break. I'll be going live a lot more. I'm gonna be posting a lot more. Thank you, Luna. Everybody, gifters, I really appreciate you. But more than anything, what I would love is if you guys could go over and vote for me in that Face of Horror. And if you could do it every day, because you can vote once per day, that would be amazing. I would love, still in third, I would love to move up to second and keep going. Thank you, everybody. Go check it out. Go to my profile in my link tree. It's one of the first links there. You can vote for me. Or, the Face of Horror. Check it out. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Smart Ash. Thank you, everybody. I will see you guys later tonight. I am still working on getting a hold of more stuff as well. This is not the end of it. Thank you, Stephanie. Everybody go vote.